men are not created equal, at least in size. Millions of little boys grow up to be short men. And if you're not one of them, you're about to find out how size can dramatically affect a man's life. When we first broadcast this story last May, we did an unusual experiment to test the theory that short men are often given short shrift, discriminated against over a matter of inches. Lynn Scher with the surprising results.
Imagine a world where nothing fits, where pants are too long.
The crotches are down to here, the seat's down to here, and the pants are up to there.
Where elevators are filled with giants.
Kind of get cramped and, it's kind of hard to breathe sometimes.
Where driving a car means your feet don't reach the pedals.
You have to fumble down here, and some have bars underneath, and some have these little electronic things on the side you have to figure out.
And where you can't see the movie screen, let alone find a date to take there.
I don't care hair color, eye color, skin color, they need to be tall. Sorry.
Welcome to the world of short men.
Short. I mean, who wants to be short?
Practically no one. How short is short? Well, that depends on the height of the man you ask. But since the average American male is 5 feet 9 inches, we figure any man 5'6" or under qualifies. And that, according to our ads, our icons, even our mothers, is not enough. We live in a society where taller is better, especially for men.
And you stop and think where that comes from. When we were little, and we were all little once, we looked up at our parents.
Ralph Keyes, 5'7", wrote a book about height.
We just assume anybody we're looking up to has power over us.
So happy.
Hollywood understands. Notice who Gregory Peck is surrounded with in this scene from Roman Holiday. No confusion here as to who's the leading man. As for all those actors who aren't as tall as their leading ladies, well, Hollywood knows how to fix that too. These are reportedly Humphrey Bogart's feet during the filming of Casablanca.
I'm saying it because it's true.
Experts say the real issue is eye contact, whether we're looking up to someone or down on them. You don't have to be a movie star to feel the consequences. We put Chris and Debbie, colleagues here at ABC News, in front of our camera, posing at different heights. Half the shots showed Chris as the taller of the pair.
The air's kind of thin up here.
In the other half, Debbie was taller. Then we gave the photos to students at Fairleigh Dickinson University and asked them to tell us a story about what was going on. When Chris was taller, the adjectives used to describe him were mature and respected. When Chris was shorter than Debbie, they called him submissive, childish, weak. If that's not how you want to be judged, the solution may lie inside this box.
Elevator shoes discreetly add between 2 to 3 inches to your height. Simply call toll-free 1-800-290-TALL. Imagine what Napoleon could have done in a pair of these shoes.
Every day, the Richley Company mails elevator shoes, discreetly packaged in unmarked brown paper wrapping all across the country. They won't give out the names of their customers, but chances are you know some. They sell dress shoes, sneakers, boat shoes, hiking boots, golf shoes, all specially built to add that critical 2 to 3 inches. They even sell slippers.
We had a customer who walked out to get his newspaper barefoot, and one of his neighbors noticed that he wasn't quite as tall as he normally is. And he called up, he was very irate, and he wanted to know why we couldn't make slippers. So we've started making slippers, and we're selling a lot of them, so they're working for a lot of people.
If lifts don't boost your ego, then just try what we're told is typical male behavior. Lie.
A man who writes down 6 feet, he's not 6 feet, he's probably about 5'10". A man who writes down 5'11", he's probably about 5'9", 5'8", he's probably 5'6½".
Andrea McGinty, who runs a dating service in Chicago, knows all the tricks.
The only way I know that they're not lying is if they say I'm 5'11 3/4. Because then, you know what, you would lie. I would lie. I would say I'm 6 feet.
Tell me what the women's reaction is when you say you've got someone shorter.
Shorter. 2 inches? Let me think about it. 4 inches? Are you crazy? No.
We asked her to help us construct an experiment to test just how willing women are to date shorter men. And we found 3 brave volunteers. Stu is the shortest.
How tall are you?
I'm 5 foot and 5'5" with the afro.
Rob is 5'3". He prefers taller women.
I kind of enjoy it. I mean, I think there are some serious advantages to being having a woman who's a little bit taller.
David is getting married this fall.
She is 5 feet tall.
And you are?
I am 5'6".
Oh, well.
Yeah, giant, right.
We recruited other men about the same age as David, Stu, and Rob, but taller. We asked them all to dress in jeans and a sweater, and then we did something cruel. We put them in lineups 5 at a time behind a two-way mirror. The men couldn't see or hear what was going on in the next room. That's where we invited groups of women to look at the men and choose a date. In this case, we wanted to see if anyone would pick 5'3" Rob. When Andrea told us women like doctors, we gave him an MD. Their choice?
Andrew. I would say Matt, I think.
No, Rob. We piled on some more assets. We said besides being a doctor, he was also a best-selling author and champion skier who just built his own ski house.
Does that affect your choices?
He's still short.
Then we gave Rob a promotion. We made him chief of staff at a prestigious hospital.
Who would you pick, Kim?
Andrew's probably the closest to who I'd pick. I'd pick Matt. Jeffrey, the pilot.
What would it take? Now we said Rob was also a gourmet cook who loves children.
Oh, definitely. I would take him in a minute then. Height, no problem.
I wouldn't, because I would think I don't want short little kids. I was thinking like...
Well, at least someone liked Rob. But if it was this harsh for him at 5'3", what would it take to get a date for Stu at just 5 feet? First, we made him an up-and-coming actor.
No. No. Not.
Then we said Stu had made millions by age 25.
No.
No?
Not for me.
Nothing worked.
How come nobody picked Stu?
He's too short.
He's too short. Too short?
We asked if there was anything we could add to make Stu irresistible.
Maybe the only thing you could say is that the other 4 are murderers.
Right, or convicted of some crime.
That would definitely.
Child
Rapists. Psychotic.
Right. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we would say, oh, okay, hello, Stu.
Right.
I mean, and nothing bad towards him. He's got a nice smile. He's cute.
But no takers. So we replaced Stu with David to see if 5'6" made a difference. We brought in one last group of women. When they all picked this fellow, we told them he'd been unemployed for 2 years, but that our David was a chief surgeon.
I guess it would be David. For me.
Yeah. 2 took David right away. But Tara chose Jim, whom we'd made a high school gym teacher.
Would it change anything if I told you that David, besides being a chief surgeon, had just published a book that he was a gourmet cook, loved kids, and extremely wealthy?
Yeah, I'd switch to David real quick. I mean, let's be realistic. I'm going to bag the gym teacher now.
So what's going on here? You had to make those short guys almost like God to make them desirable, right?
We finally made him God, and that's when they chose.
And this surprises you?
It obviously doesn't surprise you.
No.
Yale psychologist Les Martell is 5'5".
It goes back to caveman times. We simply judge people, particularly men, based on their height, on their size, on their physical presence.
Why is that? We asked several of the women to come back and tell us.
I feel great best friends because they're very enthusiastic, caring, because they have to make up for their height.
But you have no interest in going out with someone shorter than you?
No. I'm just attracted to taller men. I'm only 5'5" myself. But I just like taller men.
I have to tell you, and it breaks my heart to tell you this, it turned out that being short was not good. Does that surprise anybody?
I don't think so.
Absolutely not.
Tell me what you were thinking while you were standing out there with the taller guys.
Sure aren't picking us.
You want to look up into his eyes, and you want it to be like a movie.
There's a stereotype in society that says when you find your mate, the man is bigger and the woman is smaller. You know, Tarzan, Jane. And we didn't get to speak, so...
Well, you didn't get to speak, but we spoke on your behalf.
Oh, thanks.
And we made you doctors, chief surgeons, best-selling authors. Stuart, we made you a venture capitalist who made millions by the age of 25. You were a gourmet cook. You loved children. You had ski houses that you built all by yourself. Sometimes all this worked, but most of the time, fellas,
Didn't do a darn
thing.
Well, I guess that says something about people.
What does it say to you?
Maybe the average person isn't giving us the credit that we deserve.
Does it bother you?
You know what it's like to maybe hurt. I think you know what it's like to, maybe to have more setbacks than taller people.
David, you're nodding your head.
Sure.
You think that's
oh,
true?
Yeah. Growing up, you take a lot of abuse. Always being the short one and getting picked on and name calling. It happens.
And we found out how very early it begins. We gave elementary school students a test, asking them to match a small, medium, or large figure of a man with a series of words.
Which man is handsome? Which man is yucky?
The kids overwhelmingly picked the tall figure for strong, handsome, smart. They circled the short figure for sad, scared, and weak. More than half also picked the short figure for dumb, no friends, and yucky.
How many of you, when you grow up, want to be tall?
And there's another decision they've already made.
When you grow up and you get married, do you want your husband to be tall, medium, or short?
Tall. 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 Tall.
Is this a frivolous subject?
Not at all. It is really, in my opinion, one of the last forms of discrimination that exists.
Research shows there is discrimination, and not just from dates. One study tracked graduates of a large business school. The taller men got higher salaries, on average, $600 a year more per inch.
There you are.
One man who deliberately and publicly does own up to his size is Robert Reich, the United States Secretary of Labor.
I have assumed for months that I was on Bill Clinton's short list.
At 4 feet 9 inches, his height is hard to ignore.
There is a step. Oh, there is a step here. Let's see.
Secretary Reich has needed that extra lift since childhood.
I remember my grandmother would chart on the wall how tall I was. And we got to 12, and she said, "You're gonna," and then nothing happened. And after a while, we stopped measuring.
Do you think of yourself primarily as a short man?
I have to say, honestly, I don't.
After spending an hour with him, neither do I. Secretary Reich has reached the top in a world that tries to keep short men down. He is happily married to a woman 9 inches taller and has been friends for 3 decades with his towering commander-in-chief. Little wonder he is now a role model.
I do get letters from young people who know that I'm very short, letters from kids who are also very short and who are in some pain emotionally, and they want my advice.
What is that advice?
You do have to accept the fact that other people may feel awkward. You've got to help them with their awkwardness. You've got to use humor. But being short should not stop you, I tell these young people. Should not in any way stop you from doing anything you want to do with your life.
I think it doesn't matter if a person is tall or short. It matters how big your heart is.
Has anybody, as a result of this conversation, anybody changed her mind on her outlook?
Sure.
Yes. Oh, let's hear.
There's so many men out there, and to single out a certain type is shallow. It'll be in my head now. It's going to be to look lower and not to, literally, and not to pass away short men, because I could be missing out on some wonderful people.
Let that be a good lesson to us all. Right. So, Lynn, what has happened to these 3 nice guys from the early experiment? Any women in their lives?
Well, Dave, whom we told you was getting married, has gotten married, so that's all fine. Stu and Rob are still available, however. Women of America, tall or short, they're out there.
I understand that you help the retail business.
Yes, right. You know, the item we had about the elevator shoe company, well, they got hundreds of requests and filled them all in plain brown wrappers.
They shouldn't have to be ashamed.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? Here's to short men.
All right.
Okay?
Me too.
Thanks, Lynn.